time of Thanksgiving, a big shout out to all my esteemed guests. I'm indebted to the experience and learning they provided to me and to my community on LetsTok podcast. With each and every guest, each and every conversation, I came out to a better version of myself. And I'm sure that the viewers and listeners share the same sentiments. With my folded hands, I would like to thank all of my guests for providing the opportunity to know you, to know your work, to know your skills, to know your mindset, and the most important of it all, the connection. As a token of gratitude, I have compiled clips of all my guests. Enjoy the rest of the video and the learning. What's your philosophy of leadership?
Yeah, that's a very deep question. So, philosophy of leadership. I think the most important thing about a leader is, the ability to work with people. Like the people skills is really important. Having the ability to do empathy, understanding, the people around you. Because, leadership, what does that mean? You essentially make decisions, and those decisions are going to matter for whatever you're managing or leading. And without having the right type of information and having the right responses, and then avoiding having decision fatigue, you will probably fail in what you're doing. And if we apply this to managing just the business without the people, it applies, right? So you need information to make good decisions.
If the child has some kind of physiological problem where their gut has dysbiosis, that also doesn't fade. And it has to be addressed. And there's a simple way to address it. And in addition, there's one cause of ADHD, which I would say is genetic, and that is a healthy personality, which I call instant gratification personality, which is that kid who turns into adult, who very much is my husband as well, who wants everything to be quick and now and fun and exciting and interesting. Now, if you have that kind of personality, you're going to have a really hard time creating habits. Because habits, as you and I, both as adults, know that you have to do repetition. You have to, like at your work, you have to, in order to get good at what you do, you have to keep at it. You have to practice it every single day.
The easiest way to do it and to get into seeking and giving back and growing and learning and sharing and helping and supporting people is to just start. When you see a need, try to meet the need. When someone is down, when someone is hurting, try and be that support that they need. For me, as you know, Saurabh, it's often come in the form of writing and in posts on LinkedIn, posts on other social media platforms, Twitter, and I have neglected it for a little while now, but I had a blog that I was actively writing on for about a year and a half, and that I intend to get back into here soon. But really just trying to share my perspective on life.
For me, it's been finding what are my unique strengths and superpowers. What can I do well? It's interesting. When I joined Microsoft 8.5 years ago, on paper, I didn't belong here. I don't have a technology background. My background was in telecommunications and advertising. But where I found success was building a community around what we did, being an orchestrator of relationships, going out and finding all of the executive relationships that we needed, finding ways to deliver value and resources as opposed to just showing up trying to sell, and earning the right to be a trusted advisor. And it worked. So your brand is, finding your passions, finding your unique superpowers, and figuring out, how do I position these in a way that I'm a thought leader or an influencer in this space?
But within that, one thing which I want to highlight is today technology is changing with such a high pace that there is no way you can learn everything on your own. Your traditional method of learning learning where you want to dirty your hand with every damn technology before you say, I know about it, that's not going to work. One of the reasons why I go back to some of those schools is because that's my easiest way to build that network. It's today, if I have to put it in a single term for somebody who wants to start this journey or be on this path, I would say don't fall into a trap of that I need to learn every damn thing myself. It's more important to know somebody who is an expert on a particular area, develop that network, develop that trust relationship, because you would learn way faster from somebody who's a subject matter expert.
I couldn't tell my story without this one significant event that occurred when I was actually 19 years old. I was lying in bed at night. I just finished making love with my girlfriend, but there was nothing unusual or out of the ordinary there. I remember she was just rubbing my chest, just like her hand was in my heart, and for no reason that I understood at the time, everything went to just light. It was looking around the room and seeing oneness. I could still see the bed and the window and the tree outside, but it was all made of the same stuff. And that stuff, that energy, if you will, was love. There was just love everywhere. And it's not like I hadn't felt love before, but this was an all-pervading love. It wasn't a personal love like towards another person. It was just an energy of life, of love. It was pure peace. It was pure goodness. It was me. I knew I was that, and I knew everything was that. I was saying these type of things, talking that way, and my girlfriend was literally scared because she never heard me say that type of thing before. She's like, where is this coming from? I'm like, I don't know. I'm just telling you the whole room just became light and love.
And I think this is what probably makes it difficult for most Americans, is that it's one of those things that's important but not urgent. And everybody says, if you look at what's important and what's urgent, you're going to do the stuff that's important and urgent because the consequence comes now. You don't pay your income taxes, they'll come get you now. You don't pay your mortgage, they'll come take your house away. The consequence of not doing your financial planning and planning for wealth and retirement is the consequence shows up when you're basically at the end of your earning cycle of your life. You might have some Social Security, but that's not going to really cover a whole lot. But doing those things that are important but not urgent, it's kind of like your health. If you don't take care of your health, again, over time, it will degrade and suddenly you're going to have a health crisis. The consequence shows up later, it doesn't show up now. If you start going to the gym today and then you come home, like, you look different? No. But if you stay going to the gym every day or every week continually, after a year, you'll notice a difference. Same thing with your financial planning. If you start now and live within your means and be willing to put money away for your future and look for investment opportunities, don't make any big investment mistakes. It gets easier as you go.
What I generally recommend for people to start out with, and it's not because I'm trying to promote something, it's just simply because I know this is going to be the best outcome for someone. And that's why it was the best outcome for me as well, is to go all in with a qualified teacher, learn a practice that is going to definitively show you not just quantifiable beneficial changes in your life, but actually make you feel really good after each meditation. You feel phenomenally better after each meditation. It's quantifiable. You can measure it. And so there's a level of bliss and peacefulness and serenity and joyfulness and lightness that comes out of your meditations more often than not.
I still hear like, hey, follow your passion. But then if I reflect back, actually, I did that thing, right? So I truly do believe that if you follow your passion and you do something that you really love doing, right, it doesn't feel like work, and you're going to put yourself in the best position to be successful versus sort of looking at it as a chore. Hey, I have to do this, I have to do another thing. It's just like, you're going to want to go solve problems. So put yourself out there and make sure you sort of take some time to reflect back and say, what excites you? What is it that you like doing? And don't be afraid to go after those opportunities. Right? And sometimes that means you might have to take a lateral step or a step back, and that's okay. It's not always just about taking the next vertical jump. It's about like, how are you learning the skill sets?
Stay very curious. Be insatiably curious. Never think that any question is wrong. Ask all the questions you can, even if it's to the point of where the person on the other end says, "Oh, you're asking a lot of questions."
Yeah.
And, at the end of the day, that's a great thing because it means you want to learn, and it means that you will not stop until you get those answers.
Focus on what you can do and not focus on what you're losing. Focus on what you can have. what you're losing is losing. You don't have any control on that. There is no point in thinking about it. You do what's in your control. Keep the head down, calm posture, and do what you need to do.
I'm thinking of times in human trafficking or kidnapping where those crucial moments, nobody knows that you've triggered it, and they haven't thought to throw your phone out the window yet, for example.
Okay.
I see it saving lives in so many ways that it could even save a life in the way that a bully, because suicide rates are so high amongst bullied children, so it could save a life in the way that a bully could be bullying a child, and maybe because he hears about your shield, it might stop him or give him pause. Do I really want to bully this kid because he might have your shield on his phone and I'll get caught?
So that's the first step, I would say, is to look at where your passions are, where your skills are, where your interests are, and then pick one thing, just one area that you could help the bullet. Makes it interesting. So adding things like your personal stories, case studies, if you have clients and you have case studies, or examples that people that you worked with, or even people that you admire from afar. You mentioned Oprah early on, so you might bring in something that you learned from Oprah, right? And so that makes the book readable and makes the book interesting.
Now there is another challenge, right? Most of the crimes happen through the tech, but the lawyers and the industry does not understand tech, right? So if you look at the burden of proof or producing the evidences in the court of law is a huge challenge, because the people who are in the custody of law would not understand the tech very well, right? So these are some challenges, and I think there should be a global template, right, for cyber security in particularly, because the crime could happen across anywhere. It's a very unique thing, as you said, right? You can shoot without a bullet, really without any harm, right? And therefore cyber war would be the next war after this your pandemic, right?
Yeah.
So I think the world should come together probably.
No, he never taught me to do business. He never taught me to how to speak to a customer. But what he taught me is how to work with your peers, how to handle the situation where you are the one who is the final authority to take the decisions, no matter what it is, right? And that is a skill that is an opportunity that I believe not everybody gets, to have a mentor who will actually put you into their shoe and ask you to take that decision, considering you are the person. If you don't take a call, something bizarre is going to happen. So it's you who's have to take the call. Is it yes or no?
So networking it's not about what can you get from another person. I mean, you do want to learn from that other person, but it's really about building a relationship. And when you're building a relationship, relationships aren't one way. You don't just have one relationship going this way. It's mutually. So a relationship goes both ways. It's not transactional. Yeah. And so when it comes to networking, it does take effort and it does take energy. And sometimes I think, there's a confusion with, social media's way of networking, where you have to have all of these friends and you have to be connected to all of these friends. And how many do you have? And followers are important from an influencing perspective when it comes to social media. But when you talk about your network, how close are you to each of those followers?
Basically, I mean, the key point is just accepting that you don't know everything. I mean, and nobody does. And as long as you do your best, you'll do just fine. I mean, that's been the key thing I see around me. Because I mean, my colleagues everywhere. I mean, there's very smart people, right? And I'm in the same room as them. So I mean, it's sort of like, okay, what am I doing here? But they have a huge amount of knowledge that they've spent years to gather, and I've done the same thing. We don't have the same knowledge necessarily, so we can help each other out and so forth. And that's the great thing about this, right? Because we can come together as a team and sort of do something about this imposter syndrome. Because as a team, there is no imposter syndrome.
So, this is the fun part. Like, what is the difference between a dream and a reality? What's the difference between a dream and a reality? It's the action. The bridge is the action. If we miss it, it just remains a dream. That's it.
Yeah. So we just have to start doing what we believe in, and we don't have to
Absolutely.
wait, right? And this is something you might get positive and negative feedback, but eventually, if you are happy, those good vibes will spread across, and then definitely there will be one time when you will be like, okay, glad I did it. And there are so many stories about a lot of leaders who have, who fail multiple times. If you likes of Richard Branson and all, I mean, we only know his successful ventures, but what about like 200 or 300 failed projects in his lifetime? So there are a lot of things around that part as well.
When people start and you are successful, then everything is great. I mean, there's nothing to learn. Apparently, you're doing everything right. The only thing that you can do is try to become more successful, so you're doing more of the same. And that's something I see in a lot of the leadership books. They start with, you are already successful, but hey, if you want to be more successful, you can do these things. And so I want to focus on people that are not yet successful. And so that means that the reason for them that they are looking for doing something else, doing something differently, is that they experience negative effects.
When we discuss about communication, people have different interpretation, and they think it lightly. Yeah, I know what communication is all about. What's your unique perspective about communication?
Beautiful questions, Ram. Here's the way I think about communication. Communication is not just about delivering a presentation at work or going through the motions. It's every moment of our life. It's the way that we talk to our family. It's the way that we order food at a restaurant. It's the way that we meet strangers when we travel. And when we realize that communication helps us lead a more fulfilling life, we start to take it more seriously, because it affects every little inch of how we live, how we engage, and how we are with the world.
If you start living your life comparing it to somebody else's life, you are always going to be in misery. Right? So the only way that you are going to enjoy living your life is you have to define a set of core values by which you will live your life. Based on that, create a vision for yourself. Companies create a vision for themselves. You create your vision for yourself, and then align your values, align your vision, and then create a mission statement and just go live your life. It is your life.
Resilience is what helps us throughout the long run, right? Toughness helps us in the moment, and it's great and it's fantastic, but you have to learn the resilience part or else everybody will break, right? And there always comes that breaking point. And if it hasn't happened to most people now, we need to look into the future to try to anticipate those things. So that's really my goal, is just to improve the lives, to improve the performance, the satisfaction, and business of everybody. So at the young stage right now, we're kind of in that middle, still working with very small teams or one-on-one, and, building that plan to spread.
And I think this is, anybody, as their personal awareness increases, you see your strengths, you play to your strengths, but you also mitigate the weaknesses. You have strategies in place. Those strategies might be partnering. A leader in an organization, for example, if they're, let's just say, really good with people, they love meetings and they love presentations and they love shaking hands. But when it comes to analytical, deep thinking work, like spending some time with a spreadsheet, for example, they just want to avoid it. Well, it's not always the best strategy to say, let's focus on your weakness and improve that skill. It might be better to say, who can replace that weakness for you, or who can we get on this team to mitigate some of the downsides of your weakness. So